So really, I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things today, having sort of positioned what IoT is and where the intelligent edge and the intelligent cloud fit in. Really wanted to touch on how this can be beneficial for your business, as well as taking you through some insights around the IoT market as a whole, which is very sort of hot off the press. So I'll talk about those insights in a moment. In terms of how you can capitalise IoT for your business, there's really three kind of steps to that process. Most people start around the efficiency point, so how to reduce costs through connecting your devices. So a good example of that might be if you connect a robot in a factory that is running something on a production line, and by connecting that robot up, you can start to pull data from it and understand exactly what that robot, the pressures on that robot, where things are starting to go wrong, the type of work that it's doing. So it could either enable you to find efficiencies through saying, actually, it's doing X many tasks within this amount of minutes, and if we can expedite that, we can get some more productivity. Or it could be things like predictive maintenance, so being able to see when that particular device or asset is going to be at a point of failure, and then proactively sending somebody out to maintain it, or even remotely being able to maintain it, so to cut down on costs there. So when we talk about efficiency, that's really what that's about, improving that productivity and reducing costs. And then I think there's kind of the next step on from that, which is when we start to think about innovation a little bit more. So I talked before about taking the sort of masses of data from these endpoints and really, I guess, processing them and turning them into actionable insights. And it's at this point that it starts to become very valuable from a revenue generation opportunity, because you can really look to potentially monetize those insights, to potentially change the way that you run certain processes within your organization, all off the back of taking the data, and you can start to innovate around the products and services that you provide as a result. And that really brings us to kind of the third point, and this is really the pinnacle step on the journey, I suppose, and where we spend a lot of time, is looking at real business transformation. So when you're looking at completely changing your business model through the implementation of a technology like IoT. And we see this a lot with customers and partners who are not currently realizing the value in the data that they have, and are able to take that data and the opportunity IoT delivers for them and bring completely new solutions to market in a completely different way. So we're talking changing commercial models, changing the type of partnerships that you have, changing routes to market even. So it can become very, very influential for your business, and we do see that a lot, and we're working with Grey Matter closely at the moment around how we can bring more business transformation to you as ISV partners, to help you evolve your business models and future-proof them as well. In terms of the insights that I wanted to share with you, I wanted to share with you this output from some market research that Microsoft have done consistently for the past couple of years. We produced something called the IoT Signals Report, and there's a link in the deck to the report, and we can share that with you afterwards as well. It was just released for this year, I think last Tuesday, so it's very, very fresh. And I'll talk you through a few points here. So in terms of IoT adoption, I mean, we're really starting to see IoT adoption reach a kind of maturation point now. So of all the organisations that we had spoken to, 85% were adopting IoT a year ago when we spoke to them, and that's now up at 91%. So you can see that that continues to grow. And then moving on, looking at the number of IoT projects that are being worked on and what stage they are at, we broadly break that down into 4 steps. So the learn phase, which is really your kind of envisaging, where you're sort of pulling together, look, what could we possibly do, and you're just testing and trialing things. Then going to the trial and POC stage, where you're building out a proof of concept to really be able to deliver that solution, all the way through to purchase and then active use. And what this chart here really shows us is that there's been a significant shift in terms of the stages that we see those projects at today. So back in 2019, 33% of all of the projects of the companies we surveyed were still in the learn phase, and that's dropped down by 4 points to 29%. And those 4 points are broadly split across the trial and POC stage, the purchase stage, and the use stage, who have all increased by a point or two each. So you can see, as I talk about maturation, that journey happening, and that people are starting to become more comfortable with IoT, and it's becoming less of a learned technology and more of a used technology. We've also seen an increase, interestingly, in the time to use. So where we were tracking last year, most people were going from the point of learn to use in 11 months, and that's actually now slightly extended to 12 months, which may be because people are putting a little bit more effort into making sure that they're correctly business casing around it, or it may be that it's becoming more challenging within organisations through COVID to get the development work done. So further sort of insights into that. And then just at the bottom two charts here really just show you how the IoT value is perceived within these organisations. So 90% say on the sort of critical scale, how critical is IoT to the overall success of that entire business? 90% say it's either very critical or somewhat critical. And similarly, in terms of looking at the satisfaction for IoT, or satisfaction with IoT, I should say, in the organisation, 94% say they are either very satisfied or somewhat satisfied with the deployment of IoT, which is actually pretty high compared to some other technologies. And then moving on, we continue to see that security is a big consideration. Although it's not such a hindrance as it used to be, it's still very front of mind for people. So 97% of the respondents we surveyed said that they've got concerns with security concerns implementing IoT. And the highest of that comes out at data privacy, which we would expect given the ongoing focus around things like GDPR. And then you can see going through sort of network level security and security endpoints and tracking and managing as you go down the list. We get into sort of lower concerns as we get to things around changing passwords, credentials, etc. So for us, we think security is very, very important. We know security is very, very important, and clearly we have a highly secure platform in Azure anyway, as well as a highly secure MCU in Azure Sphere, which we can talk a little bit more about. But for us, we're really talking to customers and partners at the moment about working with partners like Grey Matter, who can really help you to I guess manage any concerns around security and give you that extra confidence. Another thing we see, we talked before about the different stages of adoption. Almost all adopters have experienced some form of proof of concept failure, which sounds like a scary statistic, but actually when we dig into it, there's a couple of really clear reasons for it. The first one to highlight is it's quite often down to the not having the right business support behind the project. So not the right kind of financial support from a leadership perspective, or the right strategic intent from the business to actually take a solution from POC to production. So we see a lot of people that do a lot of playing with building POCs, but without having fully built out that business model. And that's why we're working so closely with Grey Matter at the moment on what that sort of business model innovation could look like for you, their partners. And then the other thing that tends to slow people down and affect things going to full production is scaling. So as I said, 70% are down to business challenges is the reason, and of those 70%, 48% of that comes into that long-term strategy and planning. So what we very often do is run business model workshops with our customers and partners and make sure that what they're looking to do through the use of the IoT technology is a fundamental part of their business plan, their strategy moving forwards. Similarly, other top ones are aligning functions across the organisation. So we see lots of things happening in silos, so that's best avoided if possible. And then creating that unique business case is quite often missed. So those are our kind of top tips to make sure that your solution goes all the way. And then, additionally, as I mentioned, 61% of the challenges coming from scaling. People struggle to get the solution to scale, and this is often because there is a complexity in terms of how to integrate across different endpoints, connectivity partners, networking partners, cloud partners, and again, that's where working with an organisation like Grey Matter, who has an ecosystem of all of these different types of partners, can really help you realise the opportunity and make sure that you can scale your POC. And then, how am I doing on time? Okay, I think so. I'm just going to go through a couple of slides on really the impact of COVID-19 on IoT. I think given where we're all at, it would be remiss not to talk about COVID at all. And then I'll talk to Rich, then I'll pass to Rich, who'll talk to some of the more technical information that we wanted to share with you today. So really quickly, in terms of how it's impacted IoT from COVID-19, we're seeing that 1 in 3 organisations are actually going to increase their investment in IoT, which is twice as many as saying that they're going to decrease. The largest section is saying actually it doesn't make a difference to us. We're going to stay the same and we're going to continue. But we've definitely seen this uptake. We've felt in terms of how busy we've been over the last few months. We can really see that lots of people are building solutions to try and help in a kind of current COVID and post-COVID world. So particularly things like smart buildings has been huge, for example, connected healthcare, those sorts of things. As you would imagine, we're seeing a great uptake. And whilst there are some people that are saying they would like to spend less and they think they're going to scale back their spending, when we cross-reference the data, the people who had responded with that as their answer were also usually the people who had more of their projects in the learn stage. So they basically hadn't yet got to that point of even getting to POC. So I think our learning there is if one takes too long in the kind of learn and ideation phase without really starting to spin anything up, then it's very easy to walk away from that when we have a crisis like a global pandemic, which hopefully we won't have many more of. But I guess the point here is really it's important to make sure that yes, we do things right and we have the right business case and the right strategic buy-in, but also that we can expedite through that learn stage to get to the point of trial and POC and purchase, because that's when the solution becomes really sticky. That's when the solution starts delivering such incremental value that versus saying we want to spend less, organisations start to say actually we want to invest more and spend more in this space.